And it's cold outside. Cole Thompson joins the show to give us his training camp takeaways and his biggest area of optimism for a team that has a lot of newness operating without Joe Mixon, without Damian Pierce. What does the running group look like? All of that and more on today's Locked On Texans podcast.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town, from Big 12 country to SEC country. I'm saying that because we got Cole Thompson. Thank you for making the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your Texans credential media member and Texans football analyst, John Hickman. For all of our everydayers out there, thank you for coming back each and every day like you do. And for our new listeners here at the Locked On Texans, with the Locked On Texan families, thank you. We are here. It's Texans football. It's training camp. And though it is cold outside, it is actually hot outside at training camp. But ladies and gentlemen, Cole Thompson, the man that does everything, man. Cole, let our listeners know where they can find.
What don't I do? I think at this point, I'm the managing editor of the Texans Wire. I work on the A team as the producer for the Afternoon Drive of Sports Talk 790. And when I find time in my day, I also am able to go talk some college football at SEC Unfiltered and do a lot of other things covering college football because it is the second greatest sport only behind the NFL that comes with your back-to-back AFC champion Houston Texans. What's up, man? AFC South. Got to throw that in there because if somebody's going to call me out and go, we haven't won an AFC championship yet. It's like, yep, all right. AFC South champs. There we go.
We are allowed to make mistakes, but Cole, they are here to talk Texans, and they are here to listen about training camp takeaways for the fans that were not able to get out there. Shout out to the greatest fans on earth. Texan fans got out there early to witness their team. Let's kick it off, man. Training camp takeaways. What you got?
Let's start with number one. Calen Bullock was an absolute steal.
Star.
Like, honestly, it just feels like every single day. And I was walking out of practice, and I remember watching him get a pick on CJ Stroud. And it's like, oh, no, that's like the fifth day in a row that he's done that. And I know he had a good year last season. He had 5 interceptions, and he was playing a little bit aggressive when it came to the open field tackling and his pursuit angles. But you'll take that from a rookie when he's able to get that many turnovers and be that much of a difference maker on the back end. And so it just has fortified your secondary to a level of where it kind of feels like an expectation for him to be leading this team in interceptions. And it feels like an expectation for this unit to be the best in the NFL. And Calen Bullock has come out and said openly multiple times, I believe this secondary is going to be the best in the NFL, and this defense is going to be the best in the NFL. But one thing that also really benefits from that is you have a good front seven. The addition of Sheldon Rankins coming back in, I think, was one of the more underrated signings in the NFL, period, because when he was on point, he was a very high productive number 2 defensive tackle. And you're seeing that in reps going up against whether it be Jake Andrews or Jared Patterson. He's doing a good job of playing off of what you got with Tim Settle and adding in that interior pressure that is forcing CJ Stroud to maneuver outside the pocket. Today was probably the best day of CJ Stroud in team drills. He was 5 for 6. He had a couple of big time throws down the field from the 1 yard line during the 11-on-11.
Are you keeping the training camp stats? Watch out for
JJ. I'm trying to. Like, you kind of
watch out for JJ Watt.
It's kind of like you just want to know that CJ's doing something right. But the thing is that the offensive line had a good day. Like, honestly, for the first team unit, the offensive line had a really good day compared to what we've seen over the last several days, where they were beating or at least holding their own against both Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson coming off the edge. Cam Robinson, he had a false start, but he also had 2 really, really good pass blocking sets. The run offense is still going to be an issue. I don't think that we have to be so worried about, like, Nick Chubb and his age kind of catching up to him. Like, I know there's some people saying that, oh, look at, Nick Chubb, he's looking slow and slow. It's like, yeah, to an extent, for a guy that hasn't played since December, I'd be worried about that. What I'd be more so worried about is the offensive line isn't giving him any open running lanes to find that separation to get to the second and third levels. So it's a two-way street. I don't want to put so much blame on Chubb who, again, is still getting back from a very serious injury and barely playing for 8 months and learning a brand new offense. But I also don't want to put all the blame on the offensive line because, again, the offensive line, you can only do so much when it comes to your limited capacity with that running back system. I think Christian Kirk is going to be a really fun player this year.
Talk about it.
I think he is going to live up to the standard of what you want in a high-end number 3 or a middle-of-the-pack number 2. Like, if he ends up getting like 800 receiving yards, the fact is that he has done such a good job of slipping in and out of that second and third level of the defense to where he's winning his one-on-one battles and creating separation that is allowing him to make plays. And I do think that there are going to be better defenders that he will go up against. I do think that he is going to have his moments where you're probably going to take him out of the game. But just the fact of the matter is that when you have a guy like Nico Collins on the outside, it's going to put so much emphasis on cornerbacks and defense coordinators to pinpoint him as the dude, which is going to lead openings. And I think that when he's at his point and really at his best, you're talking about a guy that can get to 800 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns and 75 catches. And I think that's what you're going to get with Christian Kirk right now. And then
Christian Kirk, I do want to play this video really quick. My Locked On listeners have heard it before. Listen to what Christian Kirk said about, what he's done before in different offenses and now here with the Houston Texans. Because I wanted to point this out, as you mentioned, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I think with just what we're able to do personnel-wise, going from 12 to 11 personnel, being able to move guys around in an offense, that's something that, I've done in the past and I really enjoy, not just me playing in the slot and Nico being outside by himself, putting Nico in the slot sometimes, putting Hutch in the slot, putting Jay, just moving guys around and dictating, the defense with, formation and motion, I think is the best way to operate as an offense. And Nick has done a great job of, being able to install that so far and putting us at a spot where we can keep on evolving. So that's one of the things that I really, enjoy and that I've done in the past. It's helped me so far.
Yeah, and there's going to be plays where Nico lines up in the slot and they line Christian Kirk up on the Z position, which, again, that's really beneficial, I think, for both because it's going to allow them to win their one-on-one battles in certain facilities that gives them advantages. Nico Collins, if he's healthy, John, I'm going to be completely real. This is a top 5 wide receiver.
Talk to us.
Like, it's so funny because, like, I was praising Kamari Lassiter today, and I was saying, like, okay.
Who I heard had an amazing day.
He's so, like, this
He's
is
good.
where it's like, you remember me last year being, like, so adamant about certain players. It's like, Kamari Lassiter should have never been there at 42. But a 4.6 40 landed him in the best situation possible because of D'Amico Ryans loves physical corners that like to tackle. And like, that's what you're getting with him. And like, Kamari's winning every single battle in camp against Christian Kirk, against Jalen Noel, against Jaden Higgins, against Metchie, against Hutch. And then, but you can't stop Nico Collins. And it's like, I don't think that that's because of Kamari Lassiter's not a good number 2 corner. I think that's more so that's just how good Nico Collins is and how well he has adapted to playing this role fully healthy. Again, he's got to stay fully healthy, which if we can get him for 14 or 15 games, you're in a really, really good spot for a brand new offensive personnel. But Kamari's had a really good couple of camps, and then in the red zone, I think that Nico's going to be just a mismatch nightmare. I see it on the bottom of the screen, and we're probably going to talk a little bit more into it, but just to preface, the tight end position is going to be utilized a lot more this year. And
come on. I'm glad you said that because, guys, me and Cole talking. Heck, matter of fact, the first time I seen Cole was Saturday, and I said, Cole, you look like you've been working out. And Cole said was,
you made me feel so good about myself.
Cole was like, no, I haven't been working out. But one thing I love about Cole is once we get past the how you doing, buddies, and everything, man, we can talk football. And I think that I saw it with my own eyes, just like, man, the production should be there because opportunities will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else I thought was really interesting is that Cade Stover, Brevin Jordan, and Dalton Schultz all look a lot bigger. And I think that was a point of emphasis. I truly
Stover hips looks better as a run.
I think that when Nick Caley came in, I truly think that he sat them all down and said, you want to be a part of this team, you're going to have to block. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're going to have to be a focal point when it comes to the run blocking. And so we got to tell you to gain a little bit of gain a little bit in the britches, by all means, we're gonna do it. Like I'm sorry, man. If you got to get a little bit more of the badunkadunk, we're gonna ask for it because that's what we need. We need the lower half of your body to be able to hold on up. Or if we need you to lose a little bit of pounds, that way you can become a more seasoned route runner or become a bit better inside the red zone. We're gonna ask you to do it. And Schultz looks bigger. I think that Cade Stover looks leaner. I agree with you. He looks a lot better when it comes to his route running. I think Brevin Jordan has kind of filled on out into exactly what you want in that H-back role. And I think there's going to be a role for him this season. I think Luke Lachey and Irv Smith are really going to have a good fight to the finish for who's going to be that tight end 4 with the special teams and maybe just your identified blocking type role. But I do think it's abundantly clear. And I was actually the one to ask D'Amico about this today. How do you feel about the tight end room? It's clear that there is going to be an emphasis. And the fact that Nick Caley comes from this background of the tight end position and knowing what it takes to find successful tight ends for his brand of offense work. And not just when it comes to New England, but also you look at the brand of offense that Sean McVay likes to run. They do utilize the tight end in certain ways that is a mismatch for really, really good coordinators. You know that there is going to be value there. Now, what I will say is that I am cautiously optimistic because it's training camp and we just got pads on. And let's see it in a live game. Let's see it against quality competition. When Carolina comes to town, let's figure out what they look like in those practices.
I think that's important.
That's where, they start to win their battles, and we're watching Cade Stover go for like a 20-yard gain, and you're seeing Dalton Schultz make that chip block and kind of take out the defensive end before he catches the 7-yard slant pattern. That's where I'll start to really think of this tight end room has turned the corner. But just based off what we've seen in practice, there definitely is a lot more juice at that spot.
A lot of optimism. There's one name you didn't mention. Can't wait to talk about it when we come back because that wide receiver 5 spot is wide open. There's a lot of optimism to be had with this unit. We got more Locked On Texans. We got more Cole Thompson on today's show. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all of the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy this year. Me and a few of the listeners of the show will be playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. Our league's been running through Yahoo for a while now, me and my buddies. Easy setup, great mobile app. And the smack talk just hits a little bit different in the message boards. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and ultimately more ways to win. It all begins August 4th, so stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. It was hot outside, but Cole Thompson made it a little bit cooler with his presence. Now,
ooh, you dirty with that line. Yes.
You see how I did that? I'm cool with the words, man. But new offensive coordinator, no Joe Mixon, no Damian Pierce, who a lot of us had optimism about him being in this offense compared to Bobby Sloat. Again, fight for the wide receiver 5. We'll get into that. But Cole, as of right now, day 2 have passed, going to day 3 have passed. Tomorrow, what is your biggest area of optimism for this team?
Ooh, I'll give you 2. I'll give you 1 on offense and 1 on defense.
Talk to me.
If Darrell Taylor has to be a stopgap starter, I don't think you're going to see that much of a drop-off in production. I really don't. The way that we talked about Derek Barnett the last 2 years, I think that we're going to say here, let's give you a Celsius
version of that,
and
too.
We're going to juice you up and we're going to put the caffeine coursing through your veins. And then, why not? Why don't we just give you a shot of adrenaline while we out at throw it on into the veins and then send you out there, son. Like that's what it is. A souped up version of Derek Barnett with Darrell Taylor. Like he has looked phenomenal in his one-on-one pass rushing sets. And I do think that there is a slight drop-off between him and Will Anderson in terms of, hey, one dude's going to get you 11.5 to 15 sacks, and the other dude's going to get you maybe 6.5 to 8.5 sacks. But still, you'll take that in a game. You will gladly take that. And you got to remember that Will Anderson, we know what type of talent he is, and we know how special of a player he can be. He's gotten a lot more leaner, and I think he's gotten a lot more finesse with his pass rushing moves. But he also has dealt with some injuries, and he's missed some games in the past. So you need that third pass rusher that can come on in and still provide that same disruptiveness, and maybe even on a couple of drives where, hey, let's go ahead and switch some things up or shift somebody inside. I think Darrell Taylor can really be that guy. And last season, the Texans had 46 sacks, which was a career high. I think that could end up making it be the new starter point. Like, you could expect the Texans as a unit next season to get to 55 sacks or 57 sacks or even 60 sacks. And that's because of what they're going to have with the addition of Darrell Taylor coming off the edge along with Derek Barnett, and then Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, plus what you got in the interior. On the offensive side, Airontae Ersery is going to start. Like, he's going to start. It's going to happen.
Why, Cole? Why?
Because if he's already proven to me he's one of the top 5 offensive linemen. And that says a lot. I mean, in my opinion, it says more so about where you are with Blake Fisher and where you are with Cam Robinson than it does what you have with Airontae Ersery. But like, Tay was one of those players that, remember when, and you know this because you care about that team that's in the northeastern region that calls Gillette Stadium home. So you got to see the video of when Travion Henderson was getting drafted. Houston made a phone call and they wanted to move on at the pick number 38. And it's been reported at this point they were moving up for Tay Ersery, and they want to give up multiple draft picks, and they were very content on considering him to be a top 40 talent. That's how much they loved him. But the way that you hear everyone talk about Tay Ersery, whether it be Titus Howard or Laken Tomlinson today, or you can go as far as to say Nick Caley for that matter, or even D'Amico Ryans, or you could say Will Anderson's kind of talked about it a little bit, Danielle Hunter's kind of talked about it a little bit. The guy is learning the basics and he's mastering that. Like, all of his attention at this point is making sure that he has the fundamentals down. The finesse part, he'll get up there. And Titus Howard said that this is a guy who athletically can fit the mold of playing on either side of the offensive line. But it's just going through the X motions of footwork and balance and good hand placement and knowing how to do it backwards. Because when you're on the left side, it's everything with your left foot. When you're on the right side, it's everything with your right foot. So understanding how to make sure that you repetitionally know that you're going to be in the right spot at the right time and you're not missing your assignments. And the thing is that he is so durable because he's taking reps every single day on both sides of the offensive line. So the last 2 days, he has been playing on the right tackle spot with the first team offense. Cam Robinson goes to the left side. Airontae Ersery goes to the right side. Well, they come off the field and he gets some water, and he's talking to Cole Popovich, and he's talking to Laken Tomlinson, and he's talking to Titus Howard. And then the second team walks off the field, and here comes Tay Ersery back on with the third team. And now he is playing left tackle. And so he is going through all the motions with the third team unit as a left tackle. Third team walks off the field, and there's no fourth team. It goes right back to the first team. Well, then he goes and he slots himself right back over to the right side, and he continues to do the right things. Like, the maturity to be able to feel confident on playing both positions and the durability that he is going through in the sweltering heat of Houston right now. And again, like some of these rookies, like at the beginning of training, at the beginning of OTAs, one of them, I won't say who because I don't want to go ahead and call him out. He's like, it's really hot right now. I'm like, it's June, dude. Welcome to July 25th. I promise you, you are not going to want to be saying that this is hot. You're going to be wanting to say, I missed that June weather. That June 8th weather was fantastic compared to July 25th. But like, the fact that he's going through it and he's not making a lot of mental mistakes, he just has to learn how to play against guys who are built like all pros, and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. And he won't be seeing that every single week. Going on now. Like, the fact that he's able to kind of master that part down already in such a high vicinity, that gives me a lot of hope that he is going to be a long-term fixture for this offensive line. And maybe it'll be at the right tackle for long-term, or maybe it'll be at left tackle next season because Cam Robinson's only here on a one-year contract. But just knowing that he's seeing reps and he's doing the basics at a very high-end level, it gives me confidence that by the time that we get to the end of training camp, he's going to be winning some one-on-ones against Will Anderson. He's going to be winning some one-on-ones against Daniel Hunter. And then you got to remember, there's only 2 of them, and they both probably are top 10 defensive ends. You're not going to see that every single week.
Yeah. Before we move on to talk about D'Amico highlighting the tight end unit, come on, man. Let's talk about the guy, Alabama. Let's talk about the Alabama product at wide receiver. Let's do it. You know we have to.
Yeah.
Metchie. I heard this was a better day. I heard he closed out Monday a little bit better than he started. Is there any optimism that – and he had a better special team period. Is there any optimism that John Metchie makes his team? Just outright, flat out makes his team?
Yeah, there's still optimism. So let's just go with this.
How was his day today, Tuesday?
Very quiet, in my opinion, compared to what we saw yesterday. He did have 1 drop, but he also had 2 pretty good catches during 7-on-7 drills. One of the balls that was thrown, it was Miles Bryant broke it on up, but it was also a really high pass by Davis Mills. So, it's 50-50. You can say, wide receiver, go make a physical play on the ball. Then on the opposing side, you can also say, make a better throw if you're Davis Mills and don't put your wide receiver in that position to have to make that type of play. So, I can see it from that perspective, but, let's just start off with this. We know the 5 receivers are making this team just off the bat, with number 1 being Nico, number 2 being Christian Kirk,
Higgins,
the 2 Iowa State wide receivers. And then I would probably say at this point, as of right now, if I were to be a betting man, Justin Watson, only because of special teams perspective. Because if Jalen Noel ends up being a really good return man, you can cut Braxton Berrios. So you don't have to worry about that one. So it's all going to be based off of that 6th guy who is going to stand on out. And Hutchinson's going to be in that running, and Metchie's going to be in that running. Metchie, to me, feels like the better blocker and maybe offers a little bit more on special teams. Hutchinson has been better inside of the red zone drills. He caught a big touchdown pass a couple days ago where Metchie dropped the ball in the end zone. Really wasn't a drop. It was just a really good play on the defensive back. And that's what worries me. What the blessing would be, I think, at the end of the day, is seeing both of them end up balling on out in training camp and then in the preseason to where you could trade one of them and know that the other one is making the roster. You get something in return for a player that you don't know if he's going to be here for the long haul. That, to me, is where I would love to see this deal get done, and it kind of solves itself out. But again, it's still so early on in camp. And when it comes to that wide receiver 5 or even wide receiver 6 spot, you have to have something that is going to separate you from everybody else. And I don't know right now what that is between Hutchinson, between Metchie, between Watson, besides Berrios, because they all have a couple of traits that you really like, but it's got to be that it factor. So when we get to the live reps, when we get to the preseason game next Saturday against Minnesota, who's going to be the one that makes that play that we come back to? And they are on the plane and they go on to Twitter afterwards and they're getting on the flight and they type in their name and everything is just positivity after positivity after positivity. Just that crack block. What a hit. Or that one-handed touchdown grab. What a play. That's what you got to kind of feel like at this point to maybe seem like somebody's taking that next step forward. I don't think Metchie is a bad player. I think that, the lumps and just the overall process they got to Houston came with a lot of setbacks before anything even got started. And so it sucks, but, you got to take the lumps on what you give it. Nothing is given at this point for Metchie. Everything has got to be earned, including playing time on the field.
Let's talk about D'Amico highlighting the tight end unit to close out today's pod. It's time to fire it up, guys. Time to fuel up and turn it up with a 5-hour energy transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot, whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends. We all love to do that, right? This one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I know I need it. I don't know about my man Cole, but the amount of work that we do, sometimes we just need that extra shot to keep us going, right? And with 5-hour energy, transfusion, that is exactly what helps me get over that period of the day where I'm starting to crash a little bit. Golf is all about good times with good people, good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without chasing down the Bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5energy.com, you can use promo code Locked On Golf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th. On one order, it cannot be used with another promotion. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting with your friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get energized. Get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today.
D'Amico, given Nick's experience with tight end position, how do you feel that you've seen Cade and Dalton and Brevin kind of take that next jump forward and how they've kind of grown off of last season?
Our tight ends, they've been really solid all camp. Jake has done a great job of coaching those guys up, just putting the pads on. I see guys just being on it, playing with their pads, playing physical, playing with great hand placement, the tight end position, starting there in the running game and how we're blocking at that position. And then you see the route detail and the route growth starting with Cade Stover. I've seen him develop a lot as a pass catcher running the routes. He's done a really great job at the top of his routes, executing the break points, getting open. Dalton has come back. He's done a great job of being the elite pass catcher that we expected him to be. And Brevin, his explosiveness, his play at the line of scrimmage, and when he gets the ball in his hands, like that entire group, they have a lot of different things that they do well. And if you got 3-4 tight ends who can operate in that manner, it's going to help us. So not only Caley, but also Jake, as Coach Jake has done a great job with the tight end group.
Shout out to D'Amico Ryans highlighting from one. Coach Jake Moreland had an opportunity to speak with him on Friday in the bubble, also mentioning that, hey, man, this group can do different things. You got 3 different guys that can do 3 different things on the field. Gave a lot of love to Cade Stover, mentioning the small details, especially, how he's improved as a route runner. Cole, man, you've been around football for a while now, whether it's college, the college ranks or NFL, right? How important is it for this tight end unit to be more deliberately involved in the offensive game plan?
Okay, so number one, I hate the fact that you got my voice in the question. I'm one of those people that hates hearing the sound of his own voice. I do. I hate it. And it's so funny.
That was Cole talking, y'all,
I do
by
this
the way.
for a living. And it's like every single time I hate having to hear the way I sound because I know that it's not sometimes pretty. The tight end position, in my opinion, and the older I've gotten and watched football, the more I become appreciative of it. And it's because of if you can be a traditional wide tight end and add incredible value as a blocker and find a way to be a sufficient security blanket, you are just so invaluable to your team. Like genuinely in so many ways. And don't get me wrong, the tight end position has somewhat moved into a new era of you have your blocking tight ends, you have your receiving tight ends. But when you have that guy that can do a little bit of everything, like George Kittle, I truly think does not get enough respect, even though some people consider him the best tight end in the NFL. But it's because of he can do everything that you want at that spot. And he does it at such a high-end level. So, like, for this offense specifically, if you just had 2 guys, let's say it's Cade and let's say it's Dalton. Let's just go with that. And one can be a sufficient enough blocker and a willing receiver. And the other one can be a great receiver and a sufficient blocker. It just gives you so much more validity to your offense, and it opens up the playbook to run 13 personnel or to run with an H-back set or get that extra unit to where you can kind of switch some things up and masquerade what's going to be a pass play actually as a run option. It just is so, I think, important because of Caley wants to make this offense dynamic.
You know who I think would be a good comp for what we may want to see from Cade Stover? Algie Crumpler back in the day.
Not that one.
I'll
go. Go ahead. My bad.
No, just not a 1,000-yard receiving tight end, but you look up 550 yards, 700 yards. At his peak, 800 yards. 5 here, 6 touchdowns here, 8 touchdowns there. Very good option on third down for third downs to pick up first down. So, like, I look at Cade, who is still a raw prospect by all means.
Yeah.
A few years ago, he was playing linebacker. I look at what he's going to have to and what he's been doing to improve himself as a tight end, but doesn't necessarily have to be the new age tight end where they want to just kind of line you up everywhere, maybe wide out, just getting in where he fits in. And at the end of the year, you're looking up and, man, I didn't realize he has 600 yards.
Yeah. If you gave me Cole Kmet as like a comp for a Cade Stover,
I'm not mad at that.
I would take that. Like,
I'm not mad at
he's
that.
not an elite blocker, but he is a willing blocker. He is not an elite route runner, but he can win his one-on-one battles. He can get into the end zone. And like every single year, he got better. He averaged like 8.7 yards a play as a rookie, and then it went up to 10.2. And he nearly quadrupled his reception total, and he nearly quadrupled his receiving yards total. And like, if you just have that, I think that would be really beneficial. Like Dalton Schultz, there's people out there that want Dalton Schultz gone off this team of what he did last year. I'm going to hold your hand and tell you this because, death taxes and Cole kind of bringing you back down to reality, Texans fans. That's what I do here. Dalton Schultz is not going anywhere. Like, the contract is immovable and the dead cap space is ridiculous. He's on this team. Like, if bearing an injury settlement or he says I'm retiring, he is on this team. So you got to figure out, how do you get Brevin Jordan? How do you get Cade Stover more involved? And especially Brevin Jordan, because there was just so much positivity after the 2023 season, and then him playing throughout that game in week 2 with the torn ACL. And he even said, he's like, listen, the adrenaline had not worn off, so I didn't even know I tore it until the next day when I woke up in pain. Like, getting him involved and having that specific role, and then having Cade Stover hopefully be more of like the role you want Dalton Schultz to be, but at a fraction of the price to where that contract is very cheap to move off of next offseason, and he can kind of take over as that long-term guy. That's the experience and kind of the upside of what you're praying for going into this game. But there are some things that I really like about every single one of them. And I do appreciate that D'Amico said, every single player has shown you some improvements in different ways. And they all provide something that makes this tight end room unique, whether it be, hey, Brevin has gotten really good as a blocker, and we just want to make sure that he's showing that consistent play that we saw in that game against Cleveland in 2023. We're getting the elite pass catching from Dalton Schultz, but he still has to get better as an inline blocker. But the version that we signed him to a 3-year extension in 2024, that's the version we're seeing in camp and that we want to continue to see going into the regular season. And it's so great to hear how many people have praised Cade Stover, because I thought it was a little bit facetious to go, hey, Nick Caserio, who's the most improved player? Well, Cade Stover Cade Stover is the most improved player.
He sold it.
Yeah, okay, bro. Like, that's really cool. I've heard this story before. Oh, no, you weren't BSing. Like, you're being completely real. Like, he is the most improved player far and away and looks the part. So it's like, I think that that's where you feel confident. And then also, what's going to be really interesting, and Hick, this is where like I kind of like was looking at it from the Caley perspective. I always am intrigued when a guy that isn't a former quarterback or a former wide receiver is an offensive coordinator, because they see things differently. And the tight end and the offensive line is so important to a quarterback.
They're both connected.
And they're both connected that, like, I love when those guys become OCs. Because they are more so in the trenches. They understand the value of blocking and setting up specific schemes and making sure that you have the right cuts and the right pulls, and you're making sure that you're clearing the gaps and they're being valuable in the rush attack. So, like, the big selling point for me when it came to Caley being the offensive coordinator, and my favorite pick to go ahead and get the job, was he's not a former wide receivers coach. He's not a former quarterbacks guy. He's not somebody that needs to work alongside with CJ. He's going to work with the other spots that were weak last year. And for Bobby Slowick, one of the things that like I really thought was a big deal in 2023 was the offensive line was decent and the tight end play was decent. And we saw massive regression in that last season. I think that we're going to get back to that progression going into 2025 with Nick Caley.
Yeah, I like that, man. Thank you for you guys listening and watching today. Cole Thompson, it was hot outside, but Cole made it cooler. Cole, of course, man, I got to get people over to see and read all of your great work. Where can they find you?
at Mr. Cole Thompson on Twitter, at Texans Wire. Make sure you check us out on the A-Team, 2 to 6 every single day, Monday through Friday. Adam Wexler, Adam Clayton, and myself talking all things Texans. And if you really love college football, and I know that you do because the Saturday game was fantastic, go on over to SEC Unfiltered on YouTube on the race to 25,000 subscribers. And of course, I always got to talk about the Texas Longhorns and the Texas Fighting Aggies and a bunch of other teams that we got to go with. Yeah, I know. Roll Tide as well. I got that in there.
And please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. As always, it's fun talking to my brother Cole. You know I need your back. We get that figured out. Until next time, ladies and gents and Texan fans across the nation, peace.
Say hi.